Hello, I'm Jim Parker, and welcome to Hope House. At Hope House, we create the environment for sustained sobriety. Let me lead off with a story. So, when I was younger, a friend of mine had taken a few swimming lessons, and his parents were really careful to make sure he could dog paddle and keep his head above water. And they went out to the lake one Saturday afternoon. And while they're at the lake, he and his cousins went out to this floating pier that was out there, and they were jumping off of it and swimming around and having a good time. And my friend Walter was comfortable with dog paddling and could keep his head above water, but he was not an experienced swimmer. And he had had a couple lessons, but he wasn't ready, and he especially wasn't ready for the tragic situation that unfolded. As he was swimming, he went kind of deep and he got tangled up in the weeds that grow at the bottom of lakes. And in his thrashing about to get away from the weeds, he got more and more tangled up, and he ended up underneath this floating pier. And the floating pier rested very low on the water, so there wasn't a space for him to get out and to escape. And he was trapped there. And here's young Walter, and he is alone, and he is scared, and he's a series of events have got him to this scary spot, and he is in a panic, and he doesn't know what to do. Thankfully, someone saw him and was able to jump in and pull him out from underneath that and rescue him. Well, so many of our people who go through addiction recovery program get that little bit of training, but then they are tossed out into the world when they're finished. And it's like giving them a swimming lesson and then dropping them in the ocean. And they're out there and they're alone and they're unsure and they're afraid and they're not trained well, and they are not prepared for the tragic situations that come up upon them and then engulf them. And so often they can't stay afloat, they struggle, and they end up falling back into their addictive desires and guilt and shame and their old habits. The problem that we run into is that there's no structured aftercare plan for them. They go through their facility, they do a 30-day to a 9-month program of sobriety. They learn some tools, right? They get a little bit of sobriety in them, and then they're expected to use those tools and be successful. We send them out of the facility and we say, here's your diploma and good luck. And the result of that is tragic. Relapse is high. In the first 90 days, multiple times people will fall and relapse over and over and over again. And then overall, 85% of people struggling with alcohol addiction will relapse in that first year. And of those that make it to the end, the 15% that make it, another 40% of them are going to relapse by the end of their second year. Overall, with those people who struggle with substance abuses, they're going to relapse somewhere between the 40 and 60% in that first year. So there is a high relapse rate amongst people. So what's the solution? What do we do? How do we stop this? And we believe that the solution is a structured, Christ-centered community based on what we call the 5 pillars of sobriety, which are Bible study, prayer, church participation, recovery meetings, and having a sponsor. And we believe that having this structured community in a safe, secure, sober living home with a very structured environment that includes a schedule and guidelines and chores, that this together in that community that we create, this will provide the environment for them to experience sustained sobriety. So we've practiced this and worked on it for about 2 years now. And we started 2 years ago with about 30 program graduates, and they have worked a similar program living in the same facility, and they have experienced about an 87% success rate. So it's the opposite of the relapse rate. So our timeline looked like this. In 2022, we began with these program graduates. We began mentoring them. We began community building activities in the group, and we began to have them work a particular structure in their life that included the 5 pillars and a job and following guidelines. In 2023, we noticed that the relapse rate amongst these people had dropped drastically, and that they had created this fantastic community where each of them had 3 to 5 really close friends, and they were practicing these 5 pillars, and they were working together, and they were encouraging each other, and they just created a very healthy environment. So in 2024, after lots of talking about aftercare and what are we going to do, we held the first Aftercare Summit. And we came together, about 30 of us came together, and we talked, and we passed around ideas and dreams, and we in that created what we felt to be a very viable aftercare plan that was designed for a community. And we built that together as this idea, and we worked it, and we made numerous iterations in it till we came up with our final design. And we've already started a home, and then we want to launch this project officially in February of 2025. So what we found in it, in our incremental changes as we worked through this, we discovered that the longer they lived in the facility, the better their chances were. That out there, out in the world, they weren't ready for it yet. They hadn't developed the use of those tools. So staying in the environment helped drastically. Also, you keep maintaining those 5 pillars were crucial. We found that of those men outside of the program who relapsed, we found that they gave up on the 5 pillars, that they would drop one and then another and then another, and pretty soon would begin to isolate. So they gave up on the community aspect of it, and then it was an inevitable relapse. But those program graduates who stuck to the plan were able to find success in it. So we were able to develop in this our model of the sustained sobriety home. So what we found in it was we had started off with the 30 men. Of the 30 men, 26 of them have made it to the end of this 2-year period. 6 had 6 relapse. 2 of them had a one-time relapse. They relapsed, they immediately came back to the group, confessed, sought help. The men all worked with them, and they got right back into their sobriety plan. But 4 of them couldn't do that, so they ended up falling back into their addiction and then leaving the facility. So overall, we were able to have a 13% relapse rate for those 30 men over a 2-year time period, which is phenomenal. And in that, these men have shared their victories and their successes, and have done great things, and are really experiencing that sober lifestyle in it. So what's the market opportunity? Can we make this thing work? So currently there is no organized aftercare program out there. No one is doing this now. And what we're doing is combining the elements of that structured program that they came from with those next steps necessary to maintain their sobriety, and then creating that environment that enables them to live a life of successful sober living. When we look at how many people would we have to work with in this, is that of our major programs in our area, there's 4, and of the 4, they graduate a little over 100 people per year. And if those 100 people were to go out and rent a place in a sober living home, they're going to pay a grand total together around $720,000 with that. And then on top of that, there's numerous grants from HUD and DHHS and the judicial system to assist these men in their housing and in their programs that come after their recovery program. So there is plenty of money out there. Plus, the numerous people we talk to who are excited and interested in a structured aftercare program. So we chose for the customers, not just anybody who was out there. We didn't want to get people who were just looking for a place to stay. We wanted to get graduates of a program because they were already motivated. They already had a certain amount of sobriety under their belt, and they were already trained, and they were ready to do this. One of the things in sobriety is it works when you work it. So we wanted to have participants who are already working it to get them moved into our program. So our key revenue streams for this are going to come from the program fees from the participants themselves. We're going to be able to get some grants, like I said, from HUD, DHHS, and the judicial system. And then we're going to hope for a lot of donations from those people who have encouraged us and who are motivated to see such a thing take place. We're going to set the participant fee at about $600 a month because that's very doable in our area. And then we're going to solicit those different grants that are out there for it. And then the basic math on the revenue shows that it's going to work out. This is what it looks like. This is what the numbers look like. Our first year, we want to have 2 sober living homes. We want to have 2 Hope houses that will have 4 men each, or 4 participants each. And so that's the numbers for that to make that happen. We also projected this out for 3 years with the hopes of getting to 20 participants a year in this program. We found that the staff that we have and the administrative support won't change much between 8 people and 20 people. So we wanted to ramp up to scale up to 20 people as quickly as we can, because then we can fully maximize our staff with that. We are going to need private donors to help support this, but the program fees are going to cover a lot of the cost of this program. So what's unique about it? What's going to, besides the fact that it's the only aftercare program out there, the other unique part of it is the way we're doing the recruiting. So currently, a person going through a recovery program, as they get toward their end of the month, they begin to stress over, where do I go next? What do I do? Most of these people struggling with addiction have burned all their bridges. They don't have family. They don't have friends they can turn to. They know that finding a bed in a sober living home is going to be difficult. And the other options, such as permanent supportive housing or public housing, or like I said, finding family or friends, is going to be almost rare. And they don't have money and they don't have a job. So the stress level is tremendous on these program soon-to-be program graduates, which is rough for them. They're already meeting a problem, and so they're already struggling with it. So our unique recruiting method will be, we go to them. So we're going to go to visit them, the programs in their last month, and then we'll be able to make a presentation to them in their last month to show them, here's what we can do, and here's what it'll cost you, and here's how we're going to provide for you, and this is the program that you need. We're going to work closely with case managers. We already have a great relationship with the 4 case managers in the 4 different programs, and they're going to push our program as we go through this, but we're going to be there with the men in that last month, and we'll be able to sign them up for the aftercare house and sign them up for any benefits that they could get to help out with it. Currently, no sober living facility in the community goes to any of these programs to show what they have or invite the graduates to come out to their place. So this is going to be the unique part of our recruiting with that. We're going to see them in that last month. We're going to make that presentation. We are going to help them sign up, and then they will be able to just continue their program in the next place. Our goal is to get them to that second year of sobriety when the stats start looking a whole lot better for them, and then slowly, slowly move them to their next step. So the team is crucial in this. We have 3 people so far working it. We have James Zavala, we've got me, and then our intern is Brian Ermel. James has run sober living homes in the past. He had 3 of them in his own nonprofit several years back over in California. It was very successful. I have 6 years experience with working with men in addiction and in recovery. And I have extensive training in leadership and management, and then in training people. And then our intern is an intern, but he's got 1 year of work with James, and he's almost ready to move out and start his own home. So we have the experience, we have the structure, and so we have those elements in place to make the success. So the key leader in this is that house leader. Whoever's leading the house is going to be responsible to create and maintain that environment for sustained sobriety. So his demeanor, his character, his dedication, and his genuine concern for the participants is critical. So there will be a large emphasis in the training of these people who are going to run these programs in their homes. Our major competitors, if we'll call it that, the people who offer sober living homes, currently there's about 45 Oxford houses in our general area. Of these, I checked, and there's 31 open beds right now, but they offer just the sober living environment, and some of them are good and some aren't so good, but there's not a program associated with that. There's a handful of other sober living facilities that offer different levels of training with it, but oftentimes it is in the area of we're having a Bible study at the house, or we're learning how to do a certain skill, and there's not that emphasis on the structured community that we're going to create. So there's probably around 50 different sober living houses in our general area, not a lot of empty beds in it, and none of them offer a program of aftercare for program graduates. So the advantage of this, the piece that we're really emphasizing is that environment that we create. The environment that's based on Christ, an environment that's based on the 5 pillars, an environment that's based on community, and we create this environment that's going to motivate the participants to continued sobriety when they get out at work, or they have a hard time, or someone calls them and the stress begins to build up. They'll be able to turn to their housemates and their house leader, and they'll have the strength and they'll have the encouragement that they need to get through this stressful time and move on in their sobriety. So how much do we need to pull this off? So over the next 3 years, having 8 men the first year, 8 the second, and then scale it up to about 20 in the third year, grand total will cost around $480,000. In that, we're going to have grants and program fees, but we're going to fall short at about $177,000. And that is what we're going to seek from our donors, $177,000 to sustain this for 3 years. And then after that, we can see how it keeps going from there. So here's the milestones that we've done so far. So we already have secured 1 home, and we've moved 3 people into it, and they are beginning the community. They're beginning to work on the pieces of it. They're already following the 5 pillars. They already like each other, so they're developing those pieces that they need for this structure. So they are paying all the costs. It's not costing anybody right now, except for the program participants. They're covering everything. We're not paying staff or administrative costs right now. It's 3 men living in a house working the program. We do have a line on another facility that could house up to 20 people, but that's out there. We're not sure we already have the relationships with the recovery programs. And we already have relationships with numerous people in the community who want this aftercare program. So the groundwork has laid for what we want to do. What we still need to do is secure some capital, secure another house so we can get the 8 men in it. And then we have to create those policies and procedures still that govern the home, that set the structure, that provide the training, and then all those pieces that we're going to need. So with that, currently in our area, we graduate around 100 people per year from our addiction recovery programs. Of those, 60 to 85% are going to relapse in the next 2 years. We graduate them and we send them out, and it's like giving them a swimming lesson and then dropping them into the ocean. What we want to do is keep them longer, train them more, develop those skills within them so that they can be ready to move slowly out and into a lifestyle of sustained sobriety. That's the idea about Hope House. We create an environment of sustained sobriety. Thank you very much.